Okay, then never mind. Okay, we good?
We're
Beth?
ready. Yep.
Well, I don't know if we're ready, but we're going to start.
Oh, okay. That's okay.
So let's get ourselves going. Good evening, everybody. This is the City of Ellensburg City Council meeting for the evening of Monday, April 19th, 2021. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilmember Miller, if you would.
Okay. I'm trying to stand up. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Then the clerk would call the roll.
Engel,
Here.
Goodlow,
Here.
Lamb,
Here.
Lilquist,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Morgan,
Here.
Tab.
I'm here also. Thank you. That brings us to proclamations. We do have one proclamation for Arbor Day. I know David has been active in promoting both Arbor Day and Tree City. So I've asked him to read that proclamation if he would.
Will do. This is a celebration of Arbor Day, and this is, I can also throw in, this is acknowledgement from the Washington Community Forestry Council, which oversees the Arbor Day, the Tree City USA program in Washington State, of which I'm a member. In 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And I skipped the whereas. I'll throw the whereas in. Whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heat and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of the business areas, and the beauty of our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Ellensburg, do hereby proclaim April 30, 2021 as Arbor Day in the City of Ellensburg, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, we urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations.
Great, thank you. So to entertain a motion for the mayor's signature on the Arbor Day proclamation.
So moved. Second.
We have motion and second for mayor's signature on the Arbor Day proclamation. All those in favor?
Aye.
I too vote aye. That motion carries. I would note that that proclamation is one of the key standards for Ellensburg to continue to be a Tree City USA. I believe we were the first, as Stan Bassett was wont to tell us, in the state of Washington. David, thanks for reading that, and thanks for your commitment for serving on the Forestry Council and recognizing throughout your tenure the value of trees and the canopy for the community.
Thank you. I believe it's,
John, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I believe it's 38 years that Ellensburg's been a Tree City, and you're correct. I think we are the first.
That's great.
And then, John, if are we doing a tree giveaway this year? It seems like you mentioned that one time.
Yeah. We are. It's underway now.
And people would need to go.
Public Works.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Okay. Again, thanks. We have no awards or recognitions that I have in the packet this evening. That would move us to approval of the agenda.
I move approval of the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye. That motion carries. That brings us to consent.
I move approval of consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye. That motion carries. Thank you. So that brings us then down to 6A. This is Dr. Larson's COVID-19 update. And I saw him, but there you are.
Good evening, board and Mayor Tab. Let's see, I'm going to start my video. Thank you. Mark Larson, Public Health. Thanks for having me here. I'll first talk a little bit about where we're at with vaccinations, then we'll talk about where we're at with phases. So as of April 12th, we had 31.64% of our citizens in Kittitas County initiating vaccination, and 22.34% having completed their two dose series of vaccinations, along with a few Johnson & Johnson vaccines, which we've given. We continue to fill our COVID-19 vaccination clinics, which is really good, not just for the community, but for the state as a whole. We have a 300-dose Moderna vaccine that is happening at Central Washington University. Tomorrow, we did one last week. Their vaccine clinic filled within 1 hour of being posted. So that's a really good sign. We have clinics, 600-dose clinics happening at the fairgrounds Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week. If any of you are volunteers, we still have space available for volunteers for the rest of the week. We, as you are well aware, we had a pause with Johnson & Johnson vaccine due to some very complicated clotting issues. The ACIP, the American College of Immunization Practice, is meeting again on Friday of this week, and they have a 5-hour meeting, and I believe they'll make a decision as to where we're going with Johnson & Johnson vaccine. But that has not really had a major impact on our vaccination effort in Kittitas County, as we've used mostly Moderna and Pfizer. We are giving, we received more Pfizer vaccine. We have a Pfizer vaccination clinic happening tomorrow, geared towards 16 to 18-year-old college or high school students, or if we have any 16 to 18-year-old college students, they can come as well. It's the only vaccine that's approved for folks under 18. We're also giving a Pfizer clinic up in Upper County on the 30th of April, geared again towards the 16 to 18-year-old. And we have a mobile clinic happening in Upper County using Moderna vaccine on May 1st, 500 doses. We've reached out again to the jail, to Twin City Foods, as well as to the Hispanic community, and are getting vaccine in arms in those places as well. As so we're doing really well in regards to vaccination. There's certainly going to be a limit that we hit at some point, and hopefully that's multiple weeks down the road, because we still need to have a lot more people in our community vaccinated to get back to some resemblance of normal. And vaccine is certainly our way out of that process. Central has been really good. They've had a lot of their student athletes come in. We had a vaccination clinic last week. We pivoted from giving Johnson & Johnson vaccine last Tuesday Tuesday morning, we were scheduled for Johnson & Johnson. We canceled that, switched to Moderna, and still gave 265 doses last Tuesday. A lot of their student athletes, which was really a good thing. So that's where we're at with vaccination. I still believe that's the way out. Vaccines are safe, and certainly, regardless of what happens with Johnson & Johnson vaccine, less risky than getting COVID-19, but it's hard for people to understand risk sometimes. So cases, we still continue to have a lot of cases. I think I told this group that we were going to be moved back to phase 2. I'm not sure if I lied or the governor just changed the criteria, but
We'll go with the change of criteria.
yeah, thanks. So Thursday night, we had 11 counties that were going to be moved back into phase 2. The governor changed the guidelines, so we only had to meet one criteria. We did not meet the hospitalization criteria. We had 3 hospitalizations. We had to have less than 3. The governor's numbers stated we were at 191.1. We had to be less than 200 for our incident rate. So we were able to stay in phase 3. We look again at those numbers again May 3rd, and I predict that, well, I know from an incident rate, we're already above the number where we need to be. Our cases for the last 14 days from today going backwards, we're at 151 cases, and just translating that to the governor's guidance over 2 weeks, we have to be less than 100. We've had less hospitalizations. The criteria, the data collection criteria go through this Friday. So it's possible we'll still be in phase 3. I'm still concerned about our numbers, and certainly they're being driven by B117 variant in the state of Washington, which is now about 50% of all the cases that have been sequenced in Washington state have been B117, which is much more contagious, about 50% more contagious than the initial strain, which we're not really seeing any of the initial strain in Washington anymore. We're seeing a couple of the strains initially found in California, of course, B117, the South African strain, 2 strains that were initially seen in South America first. So we're seeing a lot of different disease. The vaccine is still quite effective over the vaccines that we're getting sequenced in Washington state. So I'm very reassured in regards to that. I have been asking people, even though we're kind of at the end of this and we have vaccination, and I'm really proud of our community for the fact that we're still filling vaccine clinics. I'm asking people to think about, just because we can do something doesn't mean we have to do something or we should do something. So I think we still need to be pausing what we're doing for the next few weeks, maybe 1 to 4 weeks now, where we'll kind of see what's happening with B117. We'll continue to get vaccination, and we'll probably, our vaccination rate is really holding our incident rate down. But looking at the data that was given to us on the 15th of April, our incident rate has really been above 250 the whole month of March and month of April. And now our most recent, to move my screen here, the most recent number I have from April 14th, we were at 303. So we still have a lot of disease in Kittitas County, and it's being mostly spread by, like it has been for a long time, when people get together with others for a prolonged period of time, not masking. And whether that's students getting together, watching TV, not masking, whether it's people going to bars and restaurants, sitting for a long period of time with people that aren't in their families, not masking, or whether people are going to celebration events and again, not masking. Some good news out of all of this, I've been working with event planner for the high schools. Even if we get moved back to phase 2, the event planners will can still plan on graduation based upon phase 3 guidance. And you should ask, well, why would that be? And that's because they're supervising those people that are in those facilities, making sure that they're masking and socially distancing, where when people are not in a supervised situation like schools, for example, it's much more difficult to control disease. I'm going to get off this call and get on to the school board meeting where they will be making a decision based on whether or not they are going to move forward with 6 through 12 being back fully based upon CDC guidance and our most recent numbers, which were again the case rate was 109. The incident rate was 191 cases per 14 days per 100,000 population. The CDC guidance would say that it's safe for them to do that. And I believe that based upon what they've done throughout the last year from a school-based standpoint, masking, socially distancing, that they can do 6 through 12 safely, especially since we've started to vaccinate those students that are 16 and 17, 18 years old. So that's my update. I'm open to any questions if anybody has any.
Yeah, just to be sensitive, because I know Dr. Larson is going over to the school board meeting after this, because the fun never stops. So are there any questions though this evening? Again, thanks for the information and the update. Thanks for the work, the continued work. I'm not quite sure how you're sustaining yourself, but it's incredibly appreciated.
Well, you're welcome. Hey, well, it's the community that's sustaining me. When I look at our neighboring counties that have empty spots at their vaccine clinics, it's really our county itself that's stepping up and doing that work of getting vaccinated. So as long as they're doing it, I'm willing to do it. So there you go.
Good. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Thank you, Dr. Larson.
Take care. All right. Bye.
Okay, then that will move us down to 7 on our agenda. This is citizen comment on non-agenda items. This is an opportunity for members of the public to approach council over items which are not on the agenda, but over which council has purview. If you do wish to approach, I would ask that you state your name, address, whether you're representing yourself or others. Know that you will be limited to 3 minutes. Please do not make comments of a personal, impertinent, or derogatory nature. Don't identify yourself as a candidate for elected public office or make any statements which assist or discuss the campaign of a candidate for elective office or a ballot proposition. Also note that city council rules provide that no action will be taken by council at the meeting at which this subject is first introduced during the citizen comment period. So please, again, concisely state your concern, and we will go. So if this is, would anyone like to approach council on a non-agenda item? I'm seeing no one. If not, then we will move to item 8A on our agenda. This is a rezone application. This is a quasi judicial hearing in the matter of the rezone application submitted by Joseph Hochter. And I would ask your forbearance as we have a script that we walk through for this before we actually get to hearing the matter. The purpose of this closed record hearing is for City Council to consider the pertinent facts and applicable law and to make a final decision in the matter of the application to rezone 2 parcels, applications number P20-125 submitted by Joseph Hochter, owner of the property. The closed record hearing is to consider the application for rezoning 2 parcels submitted by Mr. Hochter is now open. I ask for cooperation in the following procedure. This is a closed record hearing. There has already been an open record hearing before the hearing examiner where evidence was submitted and testimony received. Under state law, there can be only one open record public hearing allowed in this proceeding. The closed record hearing means that council bases its decision only on the record developed at the public hearing previously held before the hearing examiner. Only persons who've already participated in the open record hearing on this matter through written comment or oral testimony received by the hearing examiner can participate in this closed record hearing. Mr. Hockner was the only person who testified before the hearing examiner and therefore is the only person who may offer comments or arguments during this hearing if he so chooses. No new testimony or introduction of new materials or evidence is allowed. Comments or arguments must address only the record already established during the previous open record hearing before the hearing examiner and be directed to the issue of whether the hearing examiner's decision should or should not be adopted. If anyone present presents comments that are not based on facts in the record, anyone may make an objection. If an objection is made, that person speaking will stop until the issue of the objection is resolved. City clerk will be making a recording of the proceedings. When you are invited to speak, please begin by stating your name and address and indicate whether you're speaking for yourself individually or as a spokesperson for a certain group or both. Speak slowly and clearly. Only one person will be allowed to speak at a time. Any questions of staff are to be directed through council. City council seeks to conduct this hearing in a manner that is fair and unbiased in both appearance and fact. Therefore, I would ask council members the following questions. Does any member, does any member of the council have an interest in this property or issue?
No.
No.
Nor do I. Will any member of council obtain any financial benefit or suffer a financial loss as a result of the outcome of this hearing?
No.
No.
Nor will I. Does any council member believe he or she cannot hear and consider this matter in a fair and objective manner?
No.
No.
Nor I. Has any council member engaged in communication with opponents or proponents regarding this issue outside of the public hearing process?
No.
No.
Nor have I. Is any council member employed by a party which has a direct or indirect interest in any property, the value of which will be affected by a decision in this matter?
No.
No.
Nor I. Will any council member be employed by a party for which the potential employment may be a result of the decision in this matter?
No.
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 Nor will I. Is any council member a member of or involved in such associations or organizations, whether formal or informal, which take a position on this application?
No.
No.
Nor am I. Is any member of the council member's family or any person with which they have a social relationship, an advocate or witness who has provided oral or written testimony or argument in this matter, or will provide oral or written testimony or argument in this matter?
No.
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 Nor will I. Is there anyone present at this time who objects to my participation or any council member's participation in these proceedings on appearance of fairness grounds? Just check. I'm seeing no one. Then, before we hear from the audience, is there a staff report to be presented?
I do have a report. Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Jamie Ailing with the Community Development Department. And what we have before you this evening is a closed record hearing for a rezone request to change 2 parcels of property from residential office to commercial highway. The property is located at 1500 Vantage Highway, and the applicant and property owner are the same. It's Joseph Hockner. He submitted the application in response to inquiries that he received for potential tenants of a building. It's a 24 by 26 metal shop building located on the property. Those potential tenants, they were requesting uses defined by our land use table as heavy service. And more specifically, they were like an auto accessory installation business. Because those were not permitted in the RO zone, you did not obtain those tenants to put a use in that building. The comprehensive plan designation is community mixed use, which is consistent with commercial highway zoning. And it's also the same comp plan designation that's across the street with commercial highway uses such as Iron Horse Brewery and the drive-through coffee shop. SEPA environmental review was completed and a determination of non-significance was issued on January 26th of 2021. And an open record hearing was conducted with the hearing examiner on March 17th, 2021. At that hearing, Mr. Hochter was the only person attending the hearing, and the hearing examiner determined that the request is consistent with the community mixed use comp plan designation and with the requirements of the Ellensburg City Code. The hearing examiner recommended the City Council approve this rezone. Staff also would recommend that the council approve this rezone request from residential office to commercial highway and adopt the hearing examiner's findings of fact, conclusion of law, and decision and conditions of approval. If approved, staff would also request that council conduct the first reading of the attached ordinance.
Great, thank you. I put my script away too quickly. Is the applicant present? I didn't see Mr. Hochter.
I don't believe he's here, Mayor. He mentioned that he was not planning on attending this because of the closed record nature of the hearing.
Okay, great. Then do you have anything, does staff have anything to add?
I have nothing further.
So council, do you have any questions then of the applicant or staff? That would be a little difficult to have questions of the applicant. I'm seeing no one. Okay then. Before closing the public hearing, I wish to advise everyone present that the council reserves the right to reopen this hearing for additional questions or take additional comments later tonight or to continue the hearing if needed. Public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Council may now begin discussion and deliberation of the matter. Council.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve rezone request P20-125 from residential office to commercial highway zoning and adopt the hearing examiner's findings of fact, conclusions of law, and decision and conditions of approval, and conduct first reading of the attached ordinance.
I'll second.
Okay, I think just as a friendly amendment, I believe that we do two motions. One would be the first part that.
Okay. I'll
Mary moved,
withdraw the second part of my motion.
and then we'll get, so we have a motion and second, a second, okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, so we do have a motion and second to approve the rezone request P20-125 from residential office to commercial highway zoning, adopt the hearing examiner's finding of fact, conclusions of law, and decision and conditions of approval. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye. That motion carries. Now then we would have a motion to conduct first reading of ordinance, I just had it, 4873.
Yes.
I so
Yes.
move.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and second to conduct first reading of ordinance 4873. And I don't have the title in front of it, so we're just going to have to go with that for right now. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye. That motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Jamie. And if the clerk would read the ordinance.
An ordinance of the city of Ellensburg, Washington relating to zoning and amending Title 15 of the Ellensburg City Code by changing the zoning classification of certain property within the city of Ellensburg from residential office RO to commercial highway CH.
Great, thank you. That then brings us to item 8B. This is a surplus declaration resolution. We're on page 171 in your packet if people are following along.
Mr. Mayor, Council, at your March 15th regular meeting, you heard a presentation from the Ellensburg Business Development Authority, also known as Centrifuge, regarding the disposition of the Ellensburg Business Incubator. At that meeting, the representatives from EBDA outlined a plan that suggested that they would like to get out of the business incubator business and make the property available for private sale with the idea to invest the proceeds of the sale into economic development in some way. Their proposal actually requested that that they receive the building for $1 and be given the ability to market and sell the building and retain the proceeds. After considerable discussion, the council elected to direct staff to move forward with the sale, but that the intent was to use the proceeds of the sale for economic development purposes. However, it was agreed amongst the council by consensus at that time that the money be deposited in a fund controlled by the city and ultimately dispersed by the city for various economic development projects that might come forward at some point later. In order to market the property, it's necessary to declare it surplus. In Ellensburg City Code, Section 2.06 contains the provisions that are required to be adhered to in order to make city property available for private sale. Those issues have been incorporated in the staff report and also in the resolution that can be found on page 176 of your agenda packet. The action that's before you this evening is to hold the public hearing, consider the declaration of surplus, and we will, after this action is taken, assuming that you do adopt the resolution, at some point in the future, subsequent to the sale, bring you back a resolution related to the Economic Development Fund. So with that, I'd be glad to respond to questions or stand for questions after the public hearing has been conducted.
Great, thank you. Councilor, questions? And so this would be considered a public hearing, just so we're clear on that, for the resolution of surplus.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. It should be open up to testimony from the public as well.
Okay. So at this time, since we have heard from staff, is there anyone from the public who would like to approach on this matter? I'm seeing no one. Council, do you have questions? So we'll entertain a motion.
So I move
Yep.
that we declare the incubator building surplus and move forward with getting it sold.
So I think the motion would be to adopt resolution 2021-09, declaring the incubator building surplus, which would then support us moving forward, surplus on April 19th, 2021.
Okay.
Do we have a
That's
second?
good.
Second.
So we have a motion and second to adopt resolution 2021-09, declaring the incubator building surplus as of this date, 4/19/21. Really, and I think that's all we'll do at this point. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye. That motion carries. Thank you. We have no unfinished business. That would move us down to page 192 in your packet. This is the naming of the downtown park.
No,
No, what I miss?
Item 9A,
Plat.
Mr. Mayor.
9A.
Nay.
A plat.
Oh, I'm
approval.
sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you. So what did I do with that one?
I don't know, but I think Tyler
178.
might have had a heart attack.
No, that's good. Well,
Page 178.
no, it's not the problem. The problem is I need a script, Nancy.
This is not a public hearing, Mr. Mayor.
It's a resolution.
I understand, but I'm confused. I'm sorry. We are item. I'm sorry. What item are we on then?
9A.
It would just be a staff report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so I screwed up the process. I'm sorry. Apologize to everybody. Okay, so then let's just. Okay, let's go to the proposed resolution. I apologize. That's my confusion. To approve the application for final plat approval. We are on page 178. Thank you. Jamie, why don't you help me out?
Okay, I will take it. Mayor, members of council, Jamie Ailing again with Community Development Department. And what I have before you for this item is a proposed resolution to approve the application for final plat known as Benjamin's Corner Subdivision. This final plat is located on 26th Avenue east of North Ellington Street. And as proposed, the plat will create 14 lots ranging in size from 5,699 square feet to 8,479 square feet, intended for single-family homes. The subdivision request came before council for preliminary plat approval on August 17th, 2020. A closed record hearing was held and the subdivision was determined to be in conformance with the land development code requirements pertaining to the RS residential suburban zoning. And council ultimately approved this subdivision, the preliminary plat with conditions. The applicant is now submitting the final subdivision application for review by council, and the requirements pertaining to final plat approval are found within Ellensburg City Code sections 15.260060 through 260.100. Staff has found that the final subdivision application for Benjamin's Corner to be in conformance with the conditions of approval for the preliminary plat, as well as within adopted city codes and other requirements. The civil plans for this plat have been approved by Public Works Department, and the remaining public improvements will be covered by a bond that's been posted by the applicant. The final plat of Benjamin's Corner subdivision is ready for council action. Staff provided a resolution which is attached to this agenda report that incorporates the findings, conclusions, and conditions of the original preliminary plat approval in that resolution. So staff would recommend approving this.
So since I seem to be screwing process up here, just a question before we move to motions. Or do you have any staff? Do we have any questions of staff? The recommended actions would be to authorize the mayor to sign the final plat. Should that occur after we've actually approved the resolution, or does it matter?
It would be more appropriate to approve the resolution because I think it also includes that authority as well.
Okay.
It does within the resolution.
Okay, so then we can just do the resolution. Is that? Okay, so then go ahead. I'm sorry, yeah, Mary.
Do you want me to move to approve the resolution in support of the final plat of Benjamin's Corner and authorize the mayor to sign the milers for the final plat?
Second.
Second.
So we have a motion and second to approve resolution 2021-10 in support of for the final approval of the final plat of Benjamin's Corner and authorize the mayor's signature on the Mylars for the final plat. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I too
Aye.
vote aye. That motion carries. Okay, we have no unfinished business, though 11A could be unfinished business. But it does move us then, I think, if I'm correct now, to 11A. We're in page 192 in the packet. This is a naming of downtown park.
Okay, good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. Back in September of 2019, the city purchased the former Wells Fargo drive-through bank property for the purpose of developing it to a downtown park. In advance of development of the park, the city staff initiated a process to formally adopt a name for the park per the requirements identified in section 2.34.060 of the Ellensburg City Code, which establishes the city's policy for the naming of parks and recreation facilities. Within that policy, it addresses the general naming criteria of the park, the procedure by which we select the name of the park, the selection process, and then it also talks about the renaming of existing parks and recreation facilities. Back at your September 21st, 2020 council meeting, you considered a recommendation from the Parks and Recreation Commission to name the downtown park Ellensburg Blues Park. This culminated a process that began back in January of 2020 when department staff put out a call for nominations for the naming of the park and received over 70 nominations. The process was then moved to the Parks and Recreation Commission at their March 11th, 2020 meeting, where they reviewed each name and came up with the following list of names for consideration: Shouty Park, Shouty Central Park, Pavilion Park or Square, and Ellensburg Blues Park. The commission then came back on August 12th of 2020. We took a few months off due to COVID. And at that meeting, they selected Ellensburg Blues Park by a vote of 3-1. The name was selected because of the multiple connections it has with the Ellensburg community, specifically the Ellensburg Blue Agate and the annual Jazz in the Valley Blues Festival that takes place at the park site each year. At your September 21st meeting, you heard a recommendation from staff, and the council decided at that point not to act on that recommendation and chose to reopen the park naming process back up to gather additional community input. This decision was done so based on the national and local discussions involving the broad issues of racial inequities and to encourage nominations reflecting inclusion, diversity, and equity. The council believed that it was important for the city to make steps in an ongoing effort to recognize and support the value of equity and diversity in our community, and the possibility of having a park name reflective of this effort was important. Through a second call for nominations, the city encouraged the public to consider submitting nominations that were representative of our historic downtown, representative of the diverse history of Ellensburg and the Kittitas Valley, and to consider names representing a sense of gathering together in community. This second call went out for nominations in January of 2021, and it ran through the end of February, resulted in a total of 175 nominations this time being submitted, with 67 of those being unique or non-repetitive names. This is in addition to the 70 nominations the city received in the first call back in January of 2020. Reviewing close to 97 names is a pretty monumental task. And so in advance of the March 10th Parks and Recreation Commission meeting, the members received all the nominations and narrowed their list to 19 names that were considered. And from that list, 4, not 5, that was a mistake in the agenda report, I apologize, were considered. And those were Unity Park, Ellensburg Blues Park, Shiloh Han Park, and Hero Park. After careful consideration, the commission unanimously selected Unity Park because of its reflecting the inclusive nature of our community as the name of the downtown park. And so the recommendation before you this evening is to consider the naming of the downtown park as Unity Park. And I would be happy to answer any questions that the council may have, as well as Lacey Harrison. She is on the call this evening. Lacey is the chairperson for our Parks and Recreation Commission, so she can help assist answer any questions that may be directed specifically towards the commission and their decision-making process. So with that, I would open it up for any questions.
Great. Council, questions?
I don't necessarily have question, but I have maybe discussion. So I didn't know what order you want to do that.
Let's do it this way then. Before we go in, unless people do have questions, let me just recheck that. Any questions of either Lacey or Brad? No?
Many thanks for doing what they did.
Well, yeah, that's
Appreciate
monumental, I think was an appropriate word. Before we get into discussion, then perhaps if there's anybody in who is listening in or logged in who would like to add comment or their observations, this might be a good time to do so. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone at this time. I'll do one more quick. So then Stacy, to your point, you want to jump in, and Nancy, you also, I think.
I have some comments.
So Stacy, you want to lead?
So I am the Parks and Rec liaison, and so I heard much of the discussion that Brad is talking about, and I do my best to bite my tongue and just listen and not engage in that conversation. And one of the other names that came up that they actually had quite a bit of discussion about, I was really drawn to with Hero Park. And when they were discussing that, I could just envision a downtown core where we can celebrate that diversity, inclusivity, and equity in the heroes that we have. Because even through the recent proclamations that we've done over the last couple months, we've identified both our present and our past has, all of these people that have contributed to our community that come from all walks of life. And so I thought that name, I thought it sounded really nice. If I was a visitor to the community and downtown had a Heroes Park, I like the feel of that. I can see us incorporating the name into the, whether it's artwork or architecture or however, I can see it being incorporated into the development of the space. And I think that it would, we could definitely refer to Lacey too, but I think that the commission would get behind that. Like I said, they had a lot of discussion on that name. And I felt, again, this is just my interpretation of sitting in on that meeting, that the discussion kind of changed when the commission was really trying to honor what the council had asked of them. And so I think when they were looking at those different names, which of these fit the bill that council asked us to go back and look at names again. So I think that maybe was a heavy portion of them choosing a name, but there were several people specifically identified in both the first round and the second round. Brad even talked, one of them was submitted as one of the top 4 names, but Deputy Thompson came up in the first round. Sharon Roselle is a big community advocate and contributor. There's a gentleman that spent a lot of time downtown, Bobby. I don't remember his last name. I wasn't familiar with him, but a bunch of the people were. And so I just thought there's lots of ways that we could honor a lot of different people contributing with that name. So I liked that name, and that's what I was drawn to out of the ones that kind of filtered to the top of the pile amongst the Parks and Rec Commission members.
Great, thanks. Nancy G, did you want to?
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. I think I like your statement, Stacy, and what you said. And yes, honoring our past as well as the cultural history that we have we've talked about that being part of the park. I think the example of a hero park is a good example of one of the 3 ways parks can be named, and that is looking back and honoring some person or some event or a group that made a significant contribution to a community. The second way to name a park is just to name it, that it doesn't have any real historical connections. It's just a name. And the third way of naming or looking for a name for a park is to look ahead and look forward to what that community might become, or what you vision the community might become. So I kind of like the name Unity, because I think that's very appropriate for what we're seeking in this community. It implies coming together. It implies oneness. It implies people caring about each other and about certain things about the community. However, with the notion of this area being a gathering spot for people to come to for events, for family reunions, for whatever, I kind of would like to propose Unity Place as the name of the park. Because I think it will be a place where we gather. It will have meaning when people look at it on a map, just like Heroes Park would too. But I do think Unity is a little bit closer to supporting the diversity, that just the word, it speaks a little bit stronger to the diversity and equity and inclusion piece. So Unity Place would be, I could take a little leeway there with the commission's recommendation of Unity Park. I would recommend Unity Place for the name.
So I'm getting a message that Stacy's internet kicked her off.
Oh dear.
So I don't know if that's maybe if we could just wait a minute.
Yeah,
see.
just wait a minute. Is that her?
So I got Stacy saying, okay, there you go. What?
Yeah, there she is.
Sorry, unstable internet.
As so many of us are.
We have a real broadband problem here.
Yeah. Maybe you could.
You should
Never
talk
mind.
to the Utility Advisory Committee.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got Stacy back. Nancy was just went in kind of, did you catch some of what she was talking about?
I did. I heard up to, or you could look to the future.
Right.
Oh.
And then
Well, ultimately, I suggested we take the word unity, but we call it Unity Place instead of Unity Park, because it is a place in the middle of downtown where people can meet and gather. To me, place connotes more appropriately what the space will be used for instead of the word park. I'm not averse to the park, but I think there's a specialness about this place downtown, right in the middle, and so I prefer the word place instead of park.
thank you. So anybody else want to jump in on the discussion?
I'm here for staff and committee recommendation today. We already sent them back. So that's just thank you everyone for putting in your input. Thank you to the Parks and Rec commission. And I am not opposed to either one of the suggestions from Councilmember Goodloe or Councilmember Ingold. I just I felt bad the first time.
Yeah, if you vote for both, it will confuse us.
Okay, good to know. I'm on board with the recommendations. I think it took a lot of work. They took a lot of feedback, and I think it honors what council asked for. So that's my discussion.
Good, thank you. David?
I was just gonna say that I too agree. I would prefer to stay true to the recommendation of the Parks and Rec Commission. As far as unity, I have no issue with place. I think that would be fine, but I like the theme, so I would support that.
Great, thanks. Nancy or Mary?
Go ahead, Nancy.
I like both. I think that Stacy spoke to how the vision for the park in terms of how we the visual cues that say either heroes or unity or whatever. And I think the design and the art and the implementation of it is as important as the name. And I think that we could work with either Unity or Heroes to make that happen and to show what this community is about.
Great, thanks. Mary?
Personally, I was fine with Ellensburg Blues Park, but that apparently has been shot down completely. I'm not sure why. In the meantime, if the commission has selected Unity, I'm with Tristan. My opinion is, let's go with the commission's decision. Let's not come up with another name that hasn't gone through the vetting process, please.
Thank you. So Nancy G, do you want to frame it? I didn't hear anything that was averse to using place, or we could use Unity Place Park. Do you want to frame a motion and see where we get with it?
Yes, I would move that the council move forward with the name Unity Place for the downtown gathering area that we are naming this evening. And appreciate the work of the Parks and Rec Commission.
I'll second.
So we do have a motion and second. So we'll get into it. So we have a motion and second to name the downtown, what has been the downtown park, a Rotary Pavilion, Unity Place. Further discussion.
Can I ask Lacey to weigh in?
Sure.
Just from the Parks Commission perspective, does changing park to place make a difference?
And that's exactly what I was gonna say about Hero too. Does she feel like that's going against what the commission chose? You know, what feels like something that they could get on board with?
So I'll address the Heroes Park name first. Part of the conversation we had when we went through that, and I know Stacy was present, so she heard most of that, but that was mostly, we had talked about the possibilities of there being some sort of installation at the park where we could name those heroes that are important in our community. Since the design hadn't been solidified yet, that was a possibility for being able to honor those heroes. As far as Unity Park versus Unity Place, we did go through a lot of names and they were submitted by a lot of different people, and we spent a lot of time on it. And there were a lot of all the commission members were interested. But I do feel like it honors all of the work that everyone did and all of the suggestions that were submitted to stick with the name that was submitted and vetted and ultimately recommended by the commission.
Great.
Can I make a comment? I just want Lacey and the commission to know, and Stacy as well. I don't think there's any reason why, if we were to name it Unity Place, we couldn't have honor whoever we wanted to in the park. And that was kind of the plan from the very beginning. So.
And I understand that the council has the authority to decide to change that if you decide to do that.
Lacey, let me ask you this. If we called it Unity Place Park, would that be a better fit for the commission? I'm not opposed to that.
I
And
know
can
we've gone
amend.
over a few of those, and I think it just had to do with trying to keep it simple for everyone to be able to use. So the more words we had into it, the more confusing it could get, and people, if you do Unity Place Park, that puts a place and a park in the same name. So I mean, you could, but I'd prefer to keep it shorter.
Okay, thanks.
Nancy, during those discussions, I could just add, I don't know if Unity specifically was talked about, but they talked about all different renderings of like square versus place versus, I mean, there were a lot of different iterations of each name, and the council did, or the commission did look at each of those and have an opinion. So it wasn't just, off the shelf. They talked about all the different options.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so we do have a motion seconds. Or further discussion or anyone, Brad? I mean, you can certainly jump in too if you want with your thoughts. I'm not saying you need to, and you may not want to at this point. So we do have a motion and second on the floor for moving forward with naming, with the name Unity Place. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I would just.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Thank you. So, I will oppose it's beautiful and it's fine. I like the sentiment of place. I'll oppose the motion, although I froze for a second, but for you, this is about you, a motion for Unity Place, correct?
Yeah.
I'll stick with, because I think we should just stick with the full recommendation of the committee. Sorry, Nancy. I'm here for the idea, but it's a park. I like the name.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. Appreciate Lacey's comments, and I think I appreciate that they did spend quite a lot of time working over possible, not just the main name, but as was expressed, the different variations. So I'll also oppose the motion. Thanks.
Okay, well, anybody else? So we do have a motion second to move forward with naming the downtown space Unity Place. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to vote aye also. I like the idea of a place as a gathering spot, and I think it's a downtown. It makes sense to me. And I think it honors, honestly, I mean, it's going to lose, but I believe that it honors the conversation that we've had, but also honors the work that's been done by Parks and Rec. All those opposed to the motion?
Nay.
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 So I believe that was Beth, if you're counting, I think that was a 2-4-5 opposed. So then
Yes,
could we
that's
get?
what I got.
Yeah, okay, good. Mary?
I'll make a motion that we name the new park Unity Park.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and second to call the downtown park Unity Park as recommended by the Parks and Rec Commission. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Again, just I think to reiterate, Lacey, for the work that you've done, Brad, coordinating the information, getting it in front of Parks and Rec. Lacey, the work that you did to chair and move it through the process is both recognized and truly appreciated. And for all of the community members who submitted their thoughts, names, advocated for a particular name, all of us have probably received emails. it was a true community process to get to the point of this particular vote. And I appreciate that we are here, but also appreciate that so many people engaged in that conversation. So thank you. With that, we do have a motion second to approve Unity Park as the name for the downtown park. All those in favor?
Aye.
I can support that.
I too vote aye. That motion carries. And then pretty soon we'll know what you're going to actually do with the park, right, Brad?
Yeah, you'll get something in front of you in the next couple of meetings with an update on where we're at, because we haven't done that. So that's coming.
Okay, great. Would really appreciate it. I think, because that's been the other question. I know that I've certainly fielded is not just the name, but where are we with process and how are we moving forward? I think council would appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, let's see what I can screw up now.
Manager's report.
So that'll move us to the manager's report. It's page 196 in your packet, 12A.
Mr. Mayor, Council, the Ellensburg City Code, Chapter 9.8 provides that whenever staff makes a purchase or sale arrangement in the gas division for a commodity, that we report that information back to the council. We recently made a purchase for April through June gas starting in 2025. The total amount of the purchase is $695,822, and that is for 1,000 MMBTU per day through that period. The information about the individual sales is included in the agenda report by table on page 196. The other item I have to report on is also related to the natural gas utility. And as you recall, during the middle of the winter, there were some severe temperatures and conditions that occurred in the Southwest. As a result, there was limited supply in the Southwest, and we were positioned with a lot of gas in the Northwest that we were able to sell. Buddy Stanovich, our power and gas manager, made arrangements to sell a significant amount of gas for way more than we paid for it. And he generated $2,533,590 in net profit proceed as a result of the sale of that gas. This item I believe has already gone before the UAC for decisions about how it will be shared back to our ratepayers over a period of time coming up. I think they arrived at that conclusion, but I'm not privy to it. And so we'll report that back to you when we report out for the meeting the 3rd of May. And that's it I have for the manager's report this evening. You do not need to hold an executive session tonight. So in the words of Dr. Larson, end of report.
Thank you. And close to the end of your reports. Let's move to council member reports. How about we start with Nancy L? You want to go?
Sure. So I'll report that the Utility Advisory Commission did recommend that half of the windfall and thank you to Buddy Stanovich for being on the ball and knowing when to sell and pursuing that. So half to a rate stabilization fund. So if we ever get caught like we did a few years ago, where the prices spiked when we needed it, we would be able to spend that money instead of passing it through to the additional expenses through to the customers. So we're leveling out those rates with this fund, and half to reserves to prevent future rate increases. So it'd be spent on needed infrastructure kinds of things. we also had a lengthy discussion about broadband, and we're still working through what a strategy might look like and the process for getting there to bring back to the council. I also attended airport advisory commission meetings, and the strategic plan there is moving forward with goals and next objectives. So we're getting details on that airport strategic plan. And that is all I have.
Great, thank you. Stacy?
I attended Parks and Rec, Planning Commission, and Centrifuge meetings. Nothing out of the ordinary to report to council that won't come to you in the minutes in the future. And I'm still working on the interlocal agreement. That's it.
Thank you. David?
Yeah, I attended Landmarks and Design, first whatever that was, the 6th. A lot of projects around downtown, if you've noticed, a lot of exterior work being done, so it's kind of exciting. Also, related to our earlier discussion, the demolition permit for the bank drive-through was approved, which the commission spent a lot of time talking about process and both the demolition process itself, notification of neighboring businesses, et cetera. And then I think staff worked to keep them on task because they were interested in what is the park going to look like. And as Brad went through the process, made it clear to them that no decisions have been made yet, but this was the first piece of that. So I think it's something we'll see in the near future. So that's all I had.
Thanks,
David,
Mary.
can I
Yes,
ask David a
sorry.
quick question?
So again,
Is that demolition going to include the building? That's
No. Good point. And Brad made clear, and so did other staff, that the permit is just for the drive-through structure. And there was a lot of discussion about what to do with the ground underneath the drive-through, but I think the goal is to take the structure down and minimize the they don't want to spend a lot of time designing a replacement until the actual park design is locked in. So
okay.
The columns, the overhead structure, and then some care will be taken when the structure is disconnected from the main building to preserve the main building to the greatest extent possible.
Okay.
Yeah. And also the big issue that they spent a lot of time talking about was how much dust and debris and vibration and noise is going to be created, and how that can be managed, and people have been notified. So yeah, they're very interested in it. So
Thank you.
Thanks. Mary?
I had a rather lengthy report for last meeting, but I wasn't there. It was about KitCom and the strategic planning we're doing and the issues that are coming forward with funding and how we're going to pay for everything that we're going to need. So we're dealing with the process of going forward digital and moving into text to 911, that sort of thing. And it all costs money. So that's the only report I have.
Thanks. Tristan?
Yeah, I was able to attend the Kittitas County EMS and Trauma Care Council. I mostly sit there and observe. I'm really impressed with how they've adapted for training the emergency medical services providers, the new ones in training and ones that need continuing education, during COVID-19, they have extra things on their plate and also have to be really thoughtful about how they're training their professionals right now. It also sounds like they need new space for their staff. Staff grew. It's not just Cheryl now, it's Cheryl plus. And Arts Commission, the subcommittee for selecting the racial equity art piece that City Council directed Arts Commission to pursue. The 3 finalists were gone through, and a final finalist was determined, and Josephine will be bringing that to City Council on our next meeting on the 3rd, I believe, and I'm excited for everybody else to see that. End of report.
Great, thanks.
Great.
Nancy.
Yeah, I continue to meet with the Community Recovery Committee. We're going to pursue some fundraising efforts to see if we can hang in there a little bit longer for folks. We had developed quite some time ago a Hispanic application. And so now we're in the process of helping through Apoyo and through some translators that we have, recruiting folks who would like to sign up for some funds and some support through our committee. And we are meeting tomorrow and to consider. We had 7 applications from that community once we opened that up, or made people more aware of it. UAC committee, and Nancy has covered that one. DEI subcommittee has been working for the past couple of weeks on reviewing applications, getting interviews set up, and we will be starting those interviews in the morning. We hope to complete those this week, and we'll see where we are at that point. If we have the 6 people that we like, wanted you to know that we had 34 initial applications who went to the city website and filled out those applications. We sent out some secondary questions for people to respond to. We got 25 responses back. So we worked from 25 down to 9 interviews that we will be conducting this week. We hope to have a report at the first meeting in May with a recommendation. And that's my report.
Great, thanks. So a couple things. I attended the Commissioner's public hearing on the 1/10 of 1% for behavioral health and substance abuse. Interesting process at best. They will be moving that to a ballot measure, I believe, in November. The need is great. If you listened or had the opportunity to Zoom, there's pretty compelling testimony about the need, both personal and from a structural standpoint, in terms of the additional resources that the 1/10 could need. But I encourage you to track. The challenge really that I see is if it's a November ballot, as those of us have gone through a ballot measure here, means that even if it passes, it doesn't begin to get collected until April, and you've kicked that down the road by not making a decision. But that said, there's an interpretation that the vote of the people would not be advisory only, but would be in fact a mandate to the commissioners that I think is also apparently open for some interpretation, but it is moving forward. And I think there will be a group of people working on that election campaign. The Affordable Housing Commission, Matt, it's a bit exciting. We do have, according to staff, what's considered to be a complete application for the commission's review on the community garden site. I've not seen the application, but it will come before the commission at our next meeting for review. If commission approves, that will then come to council for review and potential acceptance. So just be aware that is actually moving forward. And the habitat project actually continues to move forward, I think, within the timelines that they had indicated in their application, which I think is positive. I'm going to try and do something really weird, and then not really weird, but PTAC meets tomorrow, but we have been let's see, can people see that?
Yeah. Oh, that looks nice.
So this is the new graphics that will be rolled out. This is the first of the new buses that we received for Central Transit. It's a rebranding, not necessarily a new logo, but certainly new colors, a bit updated, actually a lot updated. But I thought you'd enjoy seeing that. That just got wrapped, I think today was when it got finished. I don't know when it's going to hit the streets, but if you do see it out there, and then they're rotating the other buses through. That logo and that will become part of the app, become part of the branding that goes onto the signs for the bus stop. And but it'll be so it's but just be aware that that's moving forward. I think it's kind of cool. Mary?
Is that something that's going to occur frequently? Because that can't be cheap, wrapping those buses.
No, I don't think that it would be frequent. No, I mean, the simple answer would be we don't envision it occurring frequently. I think we used the original logo for, I don't even want to, I would say 10 to 11 years.
Oh, I don't think it's been that long because I voted on Central Transit.
I think we were using the logo before that, though.
Well, I know, but we did. Okay.
Yeah, Nancy.
I just, if we're wrapped up on that.
Yeah, I'm good.
I just wanted to point out that the county is looking for citizen volunteers for a new courthouse committee to advise them on that, and also to advise on the bowling alley and what to do with that. I believe they had an RFP out, and they want input to review that. So if anyone is interested, and in particular, I thought our landmarks and design commission members might be interested in the courthouse anyway. But certainly the city has a stake in what happens at the courthouse too. And thanks.
Right. Thank you. Is there anything else? Then I think for the good of order, we should adjourn for the evening. Right. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Good night.